I'm just laughing to myself, reflecting back on my life, my career. People in Philadelphia, where I grew up, don't even use the word career. But here in Hollywood, where I've been for quite some time, more than half my life, really is about that. And so much of this career has to do with, in show business, has to do with the image that people want you to believe. It's Tinseltown. It's the shine. It's the bait that we take. The Oscars, the trophies, the accolades, the cover of magazines. This illusion that's out there. It's just amazing to me. That's what my life was. I was so into it growing up as a boy, dreaming. A poor kid. Poor in many ways. I remember the hand-me-downs and the lack of nicer clothes, even though we lived in a kind of ended up in a pretty nice area with people into fashion and things like that. But my sister and mom actually I used to make fun of them. They would have like the sweaters with monograms. And I would laugh at the fact that we had no money, but the sweaters represented money. They were made out of, I think, some sort of a Angora. Was that what it was? And I'd see them they're fluffy in the drawers. I always had this overriding thought in me that I was compelled to be natural, organic, call things out, call out the truth. But it was really stopped. It was stopped in its tracks constantly. Anything I say, by the way, is never a blame. It's a self-evaluation. It's the truth of things that happen. At least I believe it to be the truth. Everyone has a different perspective, like what's poor, for instance. That's something that I would definitely were below the poverty line, that's for sure. My mom raised us by herself. My dad never gave a dime of child support. He passed away last year. And the reason I say that is I did have a relationship with him. It wasn't it wasn't a dream relationship, that's for sure. But it was in some ways because it led to a response to these outside factors that were kind of coming at me that I had to deal with in some way and manufacture my own life, because the platforms weren't there, the mores, the values, they were ever shifting and didn't understand them, and they weren't consistent and moving a lot. We moved a lot. We moved in with people. We moved in with an uncle. We moved in with my aunt and her daughter, and several different situations and rental homes and apartments. And it was a lot of disarray. I'm giving you this background to perhaps have you relate to it, have a better understanding of what I'm doing with this podcast, that my life has been a healing from circumstances that are beyond my control, that presented themselves to me in a very chaotic way. There was not balance. There was a lot of chaos, mayhem. And I learned at an early age to find some laughter, some take of this obscurity and make it somewhat normal. I think that's part of what this podcast is about. It's a repeat of life, which they say insanity is the same behavior expecting different results. But my insanity would be if I didn't do the podcast, if I did the same things, the same behaviors and responses and reactions and mood shifting and manipulation and control. If I did all of those things, that would be insane. And I had coping mechanisms growing up, whether it was lying, cheating, stealing. Now that I say that, that's what my wife became. Maybe it's karma. I don't know. This is all a discovery. I hope you're here for it and open to it. Maybe it can inspire you to go in a certain direction. Because there is a lot of hope in here. I mean, look, I'm alive, look, right, first of all. Second of all, I really have a lot of happiness in my life. It's success. I mean, there was from nothing to build up of a career. I use that word career again. It's almost embarrassing because of Philadelphia. You work. And I worked a lot of jobs, starting with my dad. He wasn't always a cult leader, but he definitely was a charismatic guy who would, I guess you could say, con people. He would get people to follow him. He had a man that he always claimed that he took him out of a chicken coop. Kind of like he almost said he was kind of like leftover from the old days of like a slave. I think he was like a slave, according to my dad. And this man was really dedicated to my dad for basically saving him. Now, in retrospect, this is the first time I've even talking about this. Maybe that's how I became somewhat of my father. I always think that I'm very much not like him, but there are qualities of me that definitely I picked up. And one of them is I really do too much rescuing and saving. But I do remember that feeling of thinking, his name was Mo, that he took Mo and gave him a job. He was usually shoveling. He was usually dirty. My dad was somewhat clean, so he could make his sales and things like that. He would wear all khakis. He wore khakis on top and khakis on the bottom, and there were these very much polyester. He had them in a box, and he would take them out of the box, and he'd have one look. That was his look. He had no other look. And it was like a costume. He was a salesman. No matter what he did, he would sell. He would convert the cesspools to the sewers. He was the first guy to sell vitamins when vitamins weren't popular, and different styles, different types of vitamins and fuller brushes. And no matter what he did, he believed in himself and whatever he was doing. I might have described this story before. I always apologize if I'm repeating, but oh well, so what? Maybe I'll repeat it in a different way. Maybe what's coming up for me. He would con my mom. It was a bribery. And maybe the reason I'm telling this story right now is I keep coming up with I married my dad, not my mom. My wife before this was very similar to my mom. I almost married her because my mom would be happy. This was at a time I was not really in a healed space with my mother. I certainly am now in a major way. I want you to hear that too, so maybe you can have hope for your relationships with a mom or a dad. It's just amazing to feel like this. I've talked about it before, but talking out loud about this, my dad was very secretive. He was always making something, like making someone. whether it was sexual or whether it was he had a way of flirting and accumulating women, and he would get involved in businesses. He was a big dreamer. So these multi-level marketing businesses, back then they called them pyramid schemes. And that's, again, what Lotus does, my ex-wife. She's really, really into these. I'm going to read some of the postings that she and her guru, her idol, have. And all of the postings have to do with, come on, follow me. Follow me. It starts with Broke, and then it goes with her. And now they're a team. And follow us, because we're just going to keep talking about our lives. It's amazing to me what I'm reading, how they can actually be okay with this and look in the mirror and say that there's any amount of humility, that there's any amount of self-reflection even, because it's just these postings of, they like to hear themselves boast about discoveries, and then they want everyone else to come with them. Well, my dad was very much that way. You should follow me. I remember he would show me how to make a steak, and you have to make a steak this way. I always think when I make a steak, I always think of my dad. When I have very few visits with him, but each one had impact. The one where he visited had a lot of impact. Hey, Barbara, invite your big-breasted friends over. He was selling bras meets Amway, like a pyramid bra operation. There's my Aunt Dottie, Aunt Fran, and Aunt Barbara in the living room modeling bras for my dad smoking a pipe. And I peeked into that living room, and it just hit me. Here's this elusive dad, secretive like my ex-wife. I'm going to keep on coming up with the parallels of how they are similar. Very secretive. She is beyond. And he would be quiet. So people made assumptions. The same with her. You make assumptions. She's a hippie. She's maybe sweet and gentle. And I have seen quite the opposite, which is so hard to believe if you've ever met her. It's just, and I still have all these visuals of what a wonderful, wonderful person she is. And I believe still is. And my dad, he just had an agenda all the time. And again, this is great because this is just a revealing that's coming up from me, from my highest source, from inside. And I'm now following these parallels. So it's just seen the pattern. And there was an agenda, but a searching, and he was convinced, like this Broke is, and now Lotus, he was convinced that what he was doing was right. And there was nobody else if anybody else did go against him or question him, they were wrong. And he avoided them, ran from them, just like Lotus does. In this world, and I really have a tough time with labels, if I'm being labeled and me labeling someone, but sometimes for lack of another term, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to label. I once told someone I coach a lot. I do coach a lot, and I don't coach something theoretical. Storytelling. I coach executives. I coach people in speeches. And what I say is, tell your story. Tell it in detail, because no one can deny your story, and that's what this is. This is my story. So he'd come around, and I watched him work these women, just like I watch Lotus work these women. Vulnerable women, usually of middle age, usually of menopausal. Oh man, sometimes I'm mental pausal. I go on a little blank now and then, but usually when I'm in flow like this, it's okay. Just be in the flow. I'm creating this memory to kind of solidify some things. I'm going to get to some readings. I have discovered some other things on on their Facebook pages and all these pages where they just boast and brag in this soul sister union that they have. And it's just, it sounds to me like a justification. And again, I don't like the labels. As I said, when I'm coaching, I tell people, I once said in a one-person show I did about my uncle, and at first I wrote it that he's an alcoholic, and I said, what if you describe someone and let someone else figure out what the mental condition is or whatever it is? So I said in my one-person show that my uncle would turn to me and say, hey, Neff, with his Philly accent, I'd rather be a good liver than have one. I can't think that explains it. He actually died of liver damage from the alcohol. 7 years sober, though. And I was there at the end and watched this man, one of the only men in my life, because my dad was very rarely in my life, was my Uncle Steve. I named my kids all J names because I was always called Stis Craig, because I was the only male around, and my grandfather was kind of just so distant and deaf and things like that. So there wasn't a lot of him. So I was the guy in the Craig. So I said, if I'm going to name my kids, I'm going to name them all J names. So if you stutter, it's going to be the same word. Like, and then you're going to say a J name. So they won't get a complex like I had. So my dad would come around, and I know deep down, it's deep down, he's a good person, meant well. But I'm going to tell you some of the things that some of the little messaging that he would give me. He would say things like, I needed you like Custer needed more Indians. That was his little love quote to me, his love language my dad had. He says, you're useless as tits on a bull. And I struggled and tried so hard. He would stand above me as I would shovel for him, trying to dig down to the sewer line or making the sewer line to connect to the cesspool that was there. And he would analyze every bit of dirt that I took out of there. Look at that teaspoon. He'd laugh like this. I'd fall into the ditch, just trying to have a visit with my dad. And with my now ex-wife, I'm just trying to be a husband and a father and a good person that I am. I'm just digging that ditch. And in both cases, I fell in it. I don't know. Yeah, I guess she laughs too, because to cut through to her and to cut through to him for this kid that really just wanted love, and the kid wanted love with his wife and really believed that I had it, probably did, probably had it with my dad. My dad said it one time. I remember he said it to me. I was 21 in a parking lot after we had lunch together. I paid. He always made me pay. There's another thing, I always pay for Lotus as well. Wow, these are incredible parallels. I'm saying these things for the first time, and I hope you're enjoying them. I don't care if you're enjoying them. What am I saying? I'm just bathing in reality and organic substance that flows out. And so he said, in this parking lot in Quakertown, we met halfway, and I so wanted my father to say I love you. I so wanted that, and it just did not happen until 21 years old, and he said it. All tears in his eyes too. And one of the regrets I have in life is I couldn't say it back. I love you. He got it out. And he gave me kind of a little hug too, which I'm a big hugger, but I couldn't hug him back. I think I hurt him too by not doing that, by not returning that love that he mustered up. possibly guilty, possibly one of his women, I'm sure. I know through the years, I know the women would make sure he always had the women make his calls for him. And so he would come around now and then with a gift. I remember he bought me a shotgun, an over-under shotgun he taught me all about it. And my mother said, he's going to shoot me. You can't let him keep this. So I held on to that. I never shot it. He showed me how the shells work and the buckshot and things like that. And I felt very manly because I had a rough time being a man without a man around to be an example. And Uncle Steve would be an example of drinking quarts of Valley Forge beer and vomiting on my varsity football jacket, which I still have. I still have with the vomit stain on it, on memorabilia. He slept in my fort underneath that with bottles of Valley Forge beer, and he would get me my beer when I was a kid. These are my role models, and that's the route I took. Self-obsession, trying to slowly kill myself, which I did try, and I did accomplish it. I hovered over my body. I overdosed in Jamaica. I didn't want to be me. I didn't want to be alive. Part of me did, because I was like the party guy, and people come to me, and I was always the organizer of the party, and I am to this day. But there was just this part of me that I just wanted more. I wanted more of my dad. I wanted more than he was. So that shotgun, now that I think of it, Lotus is also not generous with me at all. Very, very little. She did have a beautiful surprise party for me one time. It really was incredible. I had one for her as well. It blew her away. I really did a lot of things that I thought she would love and seemingly did love. Things that I was taught that a woman would enjoy. I've always been that way. And then in retrospect, maybe you can hear this. It's not real. So you're buying into something that I would say to myself, I'd buy flowers and I'd say, why, this doesn't make any sense. Who came up with this one? They die. I want to buy living flowers in a pot. You can water them and watch them grow. But again, I kept doing things that I thought that the woman would want and I would please her. And that happened a lot with Lotus throughout our time together. And it's a form of rescuing, and it's a failed concept. I want to reiterate that. I will continue to do that. So my dad had he have men now and then who would be like this guy Curtis. My dad's final days, Curtis was begging me for money that my dad took from him. I felt so bad for him. I did remember him. He was they were in the contracting business with the backhoes and things like that. My father always wanted me to operate backhoes, and he would compare me to people. Oh, what about Steve? Look at that kid. He's 14. He can already drive a stick shift. All those comparisons, he just didn't know how to be a dad that I would see and fantasize on television. I might have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, that I would look at baseball cards, and I really wanted to be a baseball player. I thought this is a way for manhood. This is a way for attention. This is a way for love, because they're loved, and they have literally thousands of fans that love them. And I would take my glove to the game and sit there. We had always had really bad seats because we couldn't afford better seats. One time I was the safety on a short bus. True story. I became the safety patrol just so I knew that the safety day was happening at the stadium. And at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, I knew, the Phillies hosted safety day, so I was going to get free tickets and sit a little closer than I normally do. I was so high up. Larry Bow would come up, and he was choked up on his bat, and I'd put my glove down. But I thought if I catch this, they would have a sign that said, sign him up. And then they'd sign you to an honorary contract. I thought, that's how I'll get discovered. I'm going to catch this ball in the air. But no balls came anywhere close to me, up in the 700, 800, whatever level. It was like the Goodyear blimp was scraping my head. But I was in denial, another thing that existed my entire life. And I looked at baseball cards and I would analyze them. I said, this one, I could still tell you Larry Bowa was married to Sheena Bowa. Greg Lazinski was married. Mike Schmidt was married to Donna Schmidt from Erdenheim, Pennsylvania. I literally can remember all of this because I thought they cannot be my dad. I discarded or traded their cards. I only wanted one statistic, single guys. I so wanted a life that other people had. I desperately wanted marriage for my mom, marriage for me eventually, love, love, love. And that's not what happened. So I said, Mom, I found your guy here, Tim McCarver. He's a catcher with the Phillies. He already won a World Series. He could teach me how to pitch. He could adopt me, backyard. I had a whole visual, fantasy visual. Another thing that happened in my marriages, a fantasy of what I want to see manifest. And again, this is self-evaluation to say, I brought some of this forth. I brought it all forth. And responsible for this equation. We're not the victim to a math equation. Math is math. So I wrote to him. I had someone in the neighborhood that knew someone that was in these costumes at the Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, Phil and Phyllis. I had I got this letter. I said, let Tim McCarver see that I want him to meet my mom, and she's a bachelorette. He's a bachelor. You know, he's a single guy. He won a World Series with the Cardinals. He's going to bring us one. He was a great catcher. I think he's from Memphis. I mean, I remember all these statistics about Tim McCarver. My mom's Irish, and she loves Irish. And I said, Mom, he's Irish. She goes, he doesn't want me. I guess he does. I was always in denial and romanticizing. And I wrote to him a letter that said, you should meet my mom. Found a photo, stick a photo in there. Here you go. Get this to Tim McCarver. And it's also a sign of something else I've always been, is resilient. And you're not going to take me down. You're not going to stop my dreams. I'm going to keep going. And I handed this guy, and I never heard back from Tim McCarver. And it didn't like kill me or anything, but I was a little disappointed that he didn't get back to me, at least say, I'm taken, or I'm seeing someone, or whatever it was. He never got back to me. Years later, I am so fortunate to meet so many people in this business. And, you know, quite frankly, fans of mine, especially a lot of sports people. Oh, my God, I've met even the guy I mentioned before, Mike Schmidt. He's a Hall of Famer. I got to know him. So many people I got to know through the years, childhood idols and things like that. I've just met so many people because they're really into comedy and into my comedy. You know, I want to be them and they want to be me. I know these are, you know, AC/DC played my wedding, and Oates from Hall & Oates is in my movie, and REO Speedwagon and Kenny Loggins, Kevin Cronin, Kenny Loggins played my parking lot. You know, I just know all of these incredible talents, actors. You know, Sam Jackson's a friend, Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, this is amazing, this life based on developing this talent that comes from this pain, though. I transmuted the pain into the talent, into the comedy, into the laughter, into being of service to others, so possibly they can be uplifted from something they might be going through similar to what I went through. I can be there for other people and have been. I know people that have thanked me because they were going to commit suicide, and people that have given me credit because they have children that were conceived after my show. They pretended they were the love master or this character I do. And just so many, it's been, the rewards are endless, the people that have come up, and longtime fans. I see them on Facebook all the time, and thank you for still being there with me. I was talking to somebody I mentored today. I said, they're not after your jokes. They want to know you. That's what they fall in love with. And I've had this great love affair with so many people. Debbie's coming to my show for probably the 80th time this weekend. I said, stop paying. So I made sure I got her tickets. I mean, people have seen me dozens of times, and they're not coming back for the material. They're coming back for me. She remembered that my daughter was born. I was playing the Bray Improv that night, and she reminded me. So cute. My daughter, 10 years ago, she still remembers that. People remember when you when I let myself into someone else's life, and it's reciprocal, and I have like family now. Julie and the Valentines are like my West Coast family. It's just been an amazing adventure due to this comedy, making people laugh. This is what I coach too, is the alchemy of laughter. It really is transmuting and shifting something that seems so terrible. People are sad for me here in this whole thing. No, don't be sad for me or my kids. It's an obstacle, just like you have obstacles. Your obstacle could be smaller or larger, it doesn't matter. It's not to judge it. It's there. What are you going to do about it? So Tim McCarver didn't write me back. I'm going to curse now, so I'm trying not to on this entire thing. It's very easy to do that. I can shock you. I think a lot of people do. I know Tony Robbins, he's an old friend also. He used to see me way before he was really that big. He's always been big. He's like 6'8", but he does a disruptor. He says, fuck all the time, right? So I decided to do the opposite because being hired corporately, I just did a completely clean set for dry comedy, whatever it's called. It's coming out soon. Completely clean. It was in Mormon country. Couldn't even say hooker. To reword everything, but just be conscious. I'm just trying to be conscious, but I can't be for the following curse, so cover your ears. I want to write a book called God's a Slow Motherfucker. It's like just so slow. Never on my time. Things are delivered. But this thing with Tim McCarver took 30 years or whatever it was. Told Joe Buck that story. Joe Buck came to my show, and we got to know each other a little bit, and he loved the comedy. And Joe Buck got a ball from his partner, Tim McCarver. They're broadcast partners for years. And I get the ball, and it says, it's signed by Tim McCarver, and it says, "Dear son, time to grow up. Love, Dad," a.k.a. Tim McCarver. And isn't it odd that both my dads died last year? Tim McCarver passed away. I never met him. My dad passed away, and I never really met him either. But the stories I have, he bought me a car for my 16th birthday. I drove it. He signs the title over to me. It was kind of his entrance into the house. I think he must have felt guilty that he did not have a gift, and it was my 16th birthday. So he just signs this title over to like a 1972 Pontiac. Oh, I was so excited. I had this title. It was, oh my God, I own a car. And I drove it up and down the driveway. I didn't even have my license yet. And then I was calling my friends. I got a car, guys. I got a car. I can take us to the mall. And this is awesome. And he stayed for a little while. Once in a while he would. And then he drove away in the car. I never saw the car again. He didn't have a ride. So he drove away in the car that he got me. And my little denial, the way I look at things, and just always turning things around and making fun, is my friends would say, "Do you have a car?" I go, "Yeah, I do." And I'd show them the title. There you go. Take that to the mall. Fire it up. And all through the years, please let me bond with him. I will do anything. And I would work for him. I caught a shark. And the next thing I know, he buys these landing crafts for $1 in Norfolk, Virginia. We're in Norfolk, Virginia, picking up these landing crafts, like those things in Normandy that he buys a beach. You needed a machete to get through everything. And there it was, the invasion of Tarawa with these 6 landing crafts. We broke down on the way down, and I had to hold the flashlight late at night because he doesn't have the proper titles for things or tags for things. He never did. And we in these trucks, and we'd be pulled over by the police. It was the longest trip ever. Get up. You're useless. Get up. Hold the flashlight. I'm falling asleep. Literally, I'm in the gravel. And sticks me in a car with this big, heavy guy with jowls, and he's snoring. I had to go underneath the car, and it's raining, and it's welding going on at 3 o'clock in the morning in this Norfolk shipyard. That's how I bonded with my dad. And just like Lotus, none of these multi-level marketing, none of these schemes, none of these entrepreneurial ideas ever came to fruition. And just like Lotus, we're left with the consequences of insincerity, of fraudulent lies, of deception, and we're left cleaning it up, trying to make peace out of it. Trying to piece out of the pieces. And they both work out of unconsciousness, no matter how much you approach something with. I've had all these shifts within, looking at myself and falling on my sword, literally, mea culpa, mea culpa. I apologize. Even recently, as of today, I'm really come from a space of love when I try to communicate. I mean, real love, forgiveness, acceptance. And I just ask for the tiniest thing. And that is, a manipulator has to stay a manipulator. They can't change, I guess. I shouldn't say can't change. And I shouldn't say they. She and my dad have no compromise. I don't think she's ever compromised with her stubbornness, obstinance. So this time I said, I'd like to redo our support agreement. And she's lived off of my wages, spent money foolishly, first cult, the second cult, in between cults, all that kind of stuff. It's just one business after another, each failed, just like my dad. And also, he hit me up until the very end as well. I would be in some Ville town. It was always Harleysville Bank, some Ville Bank in Pennsylvania. It was my son, the big shot. He's from Hollywood. And he would convince me to co-sign on these loans. Hardly ever talk to me, no communication, but I'd come back to Pennsylvania and he would humiliate me into signing these things, call me Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Hollywood. And she works me too. She works me. And so I'm thinking, oh, maybe, and I'm really coming from a loving space, and people think, no, especially lawyers. No, do not do this. Do not show this other, admitting things and whatever it is. She definitely doesn't admit anything. She's really good at that. She would pull out cameras to film me, so I guess trying to catch some violence or something, which was funny because I was just flashing peace signs. Let's go to a good vibe. And the more I did that, the angrier she got, the more she pulled out the camera. And then I get accused of, coming forward, I guess, whatever it is. It's amazing the manipulation that took place with both people, how they can turn it around and make it about me and my failures and what I'm doing. He would call me a failure all the time and say that I'm in a stupid business. It's ridiculous. Why don't I join him and whatever he was doing at the time? Mule rides in the Pocono Mountains, where he had a harem of 14 women. He called it his harem. That was his cult. He would go around Pennsylvania to auctions and things like this, and he would just work these women, and manipulate and get them to. He would do it in a way where, again, a lot of these patterns I'm trying to give you so you can look for the warning signs as well with someone trying to work you. And they give you like little moments of thank you, or maybe even a little bit of praise for just a second, just so they can keep on going, so you'll praise them and do what they want you to do. So I said to her, I'm really absolutely sending love. I mean, big time. That's the space that I'm in, even right now. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I am in a full knowing that this is the only answer. And, but again, God's slow. So it's not coming back, and I have to relax and let it go. I'm saying, I'm lovingly inviting you to tell me, are you making more money than we signed the deal? I'm very clear. She says, oh, you fill out the forms. My lawyer sends you the forms. By the way, she broke that promise. The breaking of promises, both of them have that in common. Just unbelievable. There is no vow. There is no commitment. There's no honor at all. Just easily break these vows and commitments and promises. Breaks them to the children, brings them to tears. Lies just incessantly, brings them to tears, brings me to tears. I actually don't shed tears. I should. I've been coming close, but I'm due for a good sorrow sob one of these days when I can get rid of my mom's voice. She just literally called me yesterday because I saw a man crying on TV. There's something wrong with this. Men are crying on TV. I was just laughing, just thinking, that's what I was thinking I probably need a good cry. To continue my cleansing. My cleansing does have to do, though, with bringing grand, beautiful, God, divine, ethereal love to all situations. Someone just came at me on Facebook. And at first, I went Craig, my Philly guy, the defensive guy, the guy that's going to overpower and, I've got a pretty good mind that I've worked up, and responses and really strength, what I think is strength, and it's not. And there was strength when I said to her, I hear your pain, love you. I don't know her really, but that's what I said. That was like, I was compelled to do that. And what can someone say? Probably get angrier. I don't think people want solutions. It sort of seems that way. People aren't looking for that love solution because it is that simple. So I'm bringing this love to her, and I said, can you do this one tiny thing I'm inviting? It's just this one thing to mend a fence, to build trust. And it really is a tiny thing to say. Like, I even sent her numbers already. They just weren't in a form. I had my business manager send her numbers of, mine are the same when we made the deal. And I took a big dip after the pandemic, during the pandemic, just really a big, big dip in comedy. My audience is, not young, and young audiences are going filling stadiums and everything that for these comics. And that's just not my time right now. I'm really shifting into more significant purpose-filled material that has to do with, workshops and things like that, and coaching, where I get to be funny, make people laugh, and have them have a magnetic pull to what I'm doing. Is I want to form laugh mobs and movements to combat this negative energy, this anti-love. And love is at the base of everything. When I teach it too, it's the first step, is love. What do you love? And embrace what that love is and come with that energy. It's beautiful. That's what propels me to keep going. So I do love her, not in love with her. I'm certainly not in love with what she's done. It's tough to one after another. It's just like, are you serious? This is really who you once loved and brought children into the world. And we met in this beautiful space, and we just had shared all these wonderful moments together. And this is really what it comes down to, huh? This is who you want to represent yourself to be continually. Like you haven't hit a bottom on the theft and the deception. It's just, it continues to shock me. I know it shouldn't. You're probably saying you're nuts. She's nuts. Whatever you want to say. There's a part of me that goes in denial. I've been in denial my whole life. It can't be this way. The guy, the pedophile that kidnapped me, he couldn't be. There's no way. This big guy who played for the Bears at one time, and that big athlete, he's a pedophile? No way. I just go into denial. All these people, the local rec director in our town. He's a pedophile, you know. Oh, to go into denial. That's what people do. We go into denial. These people or the abusive Boy Scout leader that abused me, and then he was the head of the All-Star team and kicked me off the All-Star team for no reason because I didn't have a dad to protect me. He was a really bad guy. These bullies, and I go into denial. And that's part of the coping mechanism. So I go into denial with her. I'll go, oh, you know, I put my heart out there again. I say, can you just tell me? Simple, just keep it out of courts and everything else. I won't take you to court. Just tell me, are you making more money than you did when you wrote the documents to begin with, where I pay you? It's amazing to me, the law is like, you can be really, she can do all the stuff that she did, violence and, you know, not honoring, all of it. You could do anything, cheating, lying, stealing. You can do all those things. And the law is the dude pays. Whew, man, that's a rough one. And if I say it, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist. Look, I get why the laws are there, because the men at one time, that's what they did. They were dominant. They were dominant even physically. That doesn't go on. It goes on somewhat. It certainly didn't with me. She was physical. And I think women are physical with guys, expecting them not to hit back. I watched this video the other day. I couldn't believe it. This guy had to hold back. I was looking, I go, oh my God, she keeps hitting him in the face. It was this video somebody was taking of this motorcycle thing that was going on in the street, and she was like in his face, you know, boom, 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 pushing him violently. And I thought, this video is going to end with him cracking her in the face, and he's going to be arrested. And that's another message I want to put out there, ladies. Men should be given more credit for not hitting, because we are trained to hit. Lotus had spread a rumor that, and same with my ex, that I'm violent. I'm not violent. I have hit back before. I remember one time I was being hit in the face by someone, a woman, and I reached over and bam, I was like, get off me. And I backhanded, and my fist went right into her eye. She got a black eye. Whoa, you know what's going to happen there. But don't hit me in the face. It's a big violation. Don't hit me in the face. And that's was the reaction. I'm not in a loving spot when I'm being hit in the face. It's really difficult. And I'm working really hard at not ever responding like that. I shouldn't say I'm working hard. I've worked so hard that I don't respond like that. That was a long time ago, 30 years ago when I did that. I have regrets. I remember that feeling of when I hit her in the eye. I'm, oh my God, I remember, oh, please take that back. And then you got to go to, I remember I was forced to go to anger management, and there's these guys in there like talking about wanting to hit. I'm like, I don't want to hit. It's an accident. Something on my lip here. What the hell is this? Food is on my lip. It's been there the whole time. Maybe we won't show the video here. So I asked her for this one thing. I also asked, I didn't want to come with the usual. I say, this is typical for you. That's what I do. This is typical and all that kind of stuff. I really, oh my God, I'm just loving. I say, I love you every single time. She said it back once. And then she wouldn't do it. She will not tell me the truth. I'm like, kind of like hitting like, hey, you don't think you're lying enough? We're in this situation, you know, with the kids have angst, and our son's not doing as well in school, and you can't like step back and go, maybe I could do better. Nope. It's so dialed into this selfishness taught to her by her guru. So she hasn't responded in any way that would indicate that she'd like to do something different. She always threatens to say, just give me patience. I'm working on my trauma. It's just, you know, I know it's another wellness grifter thing. You know, they're going through tapping, whatever it is, even meditating, whatever it is. She thinks that she goes down these paths and it does not come back with a single shift. It's all just more selfishness and more listening to herself. Here's some quotes from Brooke. She talks about, I taught a 2-hour workshop recently, a group of moms on how she capitalized. If I go loud, it means it's capitalized. How to shift these hard dynamics and bring harmony back to you and your son. Her son wouldn't speak to her for a year. Yeah. You do not need to struggle alone. She's assuming that everything she says about her life, she assumes that other people, I'm here for you. What if they're not? She convinced Lotus, my ex-wife, she convinced her, you're not living a happy life. You're not living a free life. You're going to come with me and I'm going to show you where the freedom is. Here's a link to if you desire to purchase this workshop. You can watch it as many times as you like. It's $50. It'll be delivered to your email instantly. Why? Why are we following you? What is your credentials? She keeps saying, I'm not educated and all that. She just brags about all of it. Why are we following you? Because you have this great sex 1 minute and then the next minute you're barren and you know what we have to watch every single bit of you. That's what she does, and that's what Lotus bought into. And then Lotus says, I am pinching myself, not because I ranked higher than my mentor and soul sister, but because when she saw my photo on top of her, she celebrated. Oh, she does the capital thing too. They just copy this beauty of being in a high vibe tribe where we are completely joyously honored and appreciated. Broke, thank you so much for walking the talk and showing me how I can step into my greatness. Is it really greatness when you abandon your family, when you absolutely put all of your stock and will into this woman? Is that really your greatness? Is that your great? Anybody? Talked to a guy today who's coming on as my guest next. He was in a cult, 2 different cults. You're just following the leader. Not stepping back and being your own self. You're not being an individual. That's what she does. She follows this leader. And she posts about going to their proposal. And listen how funny this is. But I'll comment to make it funnier. So she said yes, 1 million exclamation points. I had the honor to witness one of my best friends, Broke's proposal. Her man, Rundle, flew me up to take part of their proposal and celebrate their engagement, exclamation point. He invited several friends to come to rock climbing gym where he was to propose from the top of the rock. You see how this goes? Proposals are intimate. This woman can't do anything intimate. She can't have a silent thought, this Broke. Everybody has to celebrate. Celebration. But she doesn't tell you about any of the other negative stuff, like a son that wouldn't speak to her for a whole year. And when he finally did, she bragged about it. There's more posts about that. He needed to come into his, whatever the hell it is. It's something justified and rationalized. That's what they do. They're rationalizing and justifying actions that break things up, a family where you could absolutely commit and honor commitments and honor vows, but no, it's all this stuff. Now here comes the justification that Lotus, this is about me, by the way, this is about me constantly for the last few years saying she's a con, she's a fraud, you got to get away, There's no stats on her success. There's nothing. You're just believing it. She takes pictures of herself covered in money and bills. They constantly vanity. Look at me. Follow me. And then she has engagement rings and hearts. That's the other thing. There's 1 million emojis in these posts. They're just paragraphs and paragraphs of pontificating about what a wonderful, wonderful life they have. He invited several friends to come to the rock climbing gym where he was to propose from the top of the rock. He had that all planned out, didn't he? We were to hide until she said yes, but we nearly messed things up a couple times when the unsuspecting Broke turned around and we muffled our giggles and we crouched down to hide. It's children. We finally snuck up the walkway to the top of the stairs where we watched the whole proposal happen. When she said, yes, Rundle prompted to turn around, and there she saw all of us hooting and hollering from the balcony. Then she lowered him down so he could get on his knee to give her the ring. Yeah, it sounds very romantic. He flew her in. He flew in, my ex-wife, for the proposal. And as you heard before, his threats to me were protecting her, as if there's some sort of, I don't know what it is. I don't want to speculate, but let you speculate. He called her his beloved. He flew these people in or had them come in to witness this. I've never been a part of a proposal before. Well, Lotus, because most people don't propose like that. They don't fly people in for a proposal, maybe a wedding. So fun and exciting. I wanted to post the photos immediately, but then I had second thoughts. Here's where I come in. You see, in the last year or two, I felt the need to hide or minimize my friendship with them. There were pretty dang awful stories spread about me and these two beautiful souls. Were they awful or were they true? If they're true stories and you're saying they're awful, well, what does that say? I've never said one single thing. It's not the truth about them. It's true that there's been no money made. It's true she asked you to get sovereign freedom and get out of your golden cage. It's true that she's into BDSM. It's true she cheated on her husband. True, all these things are true. But somebody that's in a cult is in denial and doesn't want to admit the truth. And that's what she fears the most with me. She ran because I would say, hey, what about this? What about this? Show me the numbers. And it's true that I never saw the numbers, even though I supported hundreds of thousands of dollars out of my pocket from hard-earned money, making people laugh. I come home, hand the checks, and that's what happened. So what is it? What is it that is untrue? That untrue narrative affected me and my family deeply, so I retreated. Retreated into lies, retreated into secrecy, retreated into deception, retreated into having houses that you rented that I didn't know where they were when we were married. You were going around telling people you needed a safe house. I ran into the one guy that was, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but ran into him at a party, and he really did have a different energy about him. And my son is wise. Oh, my God, he's so wise. He goes, oh, yeah, he's depressed. My son says this about him. Maybe he's depressed because it was found out that this woman that he was told me he doesn't like me and attacked me. And, because I was texting him and say, hey, it's got to stop. And I think she turned on him, too, at least according to my son. So she says in this post, I watched my internal process on this visit, the pure joy of their engagement being clouded by feeling I couldn't share, pretending I wasn't there. Pretending I wasn't there. You could have been here and present and put something into that. Put something into your, invest into your marriage, into your family, into your children, instead of investing in this woman. Pure joy in their engagement. It's ridiculous. When I hide, I allow the false narrative to win. Does she understand what that really means? The hiding, what was going on all during the marriage. The cheating, the lying, the running away, all the dishonesty, the moving money into different accounts without my knowledge, going off to medicine journeys and going on hallucinogenic medicine journeys, and with these two probably having a threesome, I don't know, the hiding of the BDSM or whatever it was. It's all hiding. Yeah, you're hiding. You became a different person than I married and that the children knew. They tried to tell you that many times, and you hid from them too. Not honest with them. You bullied them. She bullied these kids when they tried to express themselves and bullied them. They go to therapy and she invades their therapy with a video. Therapy stops. There's nothing that stops her, but she's acting like this person that is a victim to this having to hide. You don't have to hide. When I came back from the road and had COVID and knew that you weren't at the library, and I came back and said, where were you? And you spent 6 hours. She spent 6 hours lying to my face and not telling me where she was while we were married. That's hiding. She's not ready to hear that. Now she's run off. She's going off this weekend to Colorado for another guy, who's fulfilling the needs and praising her, I'm sure. Definitely not holding up a mirror. When I minimize my relationship, I know what's true. Do you? Does she know what's true? Does she know that it's true? Or is it true for her that she justifies the behavior? I want people to hear this. There's no one who's in a cult that says they're in a cult. No one. Whether it's a religious cult, whether it's a Boy Scouts, I don't care what it is. There's cults everywhere. They're everywhere. The one thing I have in my life, the one good thing that's ever happened to me, no cults. Never been a joiner. Even in the fraternity. Couldn't really get in. I think I was sergeant of arms for a couple of minutes. I don't know, whatever it was. Some easy job. I've never been part of a cult. When I was in the fraternity, it did not connect with me. I was in it for the lower rent, place to live, and some buddies to hang out with and drink with. No cults. I encourage you to be your own individual. Let's form our own. Let's form our own gang, mob, movement, laughter movement. Let's go have some fun. That's what I've started. I have a workshop coming up soon. Another one. I've had this Enlightened Up group for years and Facebook, and we exchange funny things. We make people laugh. Next episode, or the episode after I have my guest, I'm going to read some more jokes that I wrote. She says, I know what's true. The rumors can't hurt me if I focus on the truth. I wonder what she does focus on what is the truth. What's perception of truth and what's the truth? The truth is you did these things. Kidnapped the kids twice, middle of the night, moved them out of the house, stole them. All that stuff is true. And I wonder if that's examined as what the truth is. Or is this perception of truth that these are good people? These are good people. My friends, my best friend, my soul sister. This person, is it really a soul sister? Or is it somebody that used you and manipulated you? That's what I believe. Now, that's not the truth. That is just a belief. And I can't control what others decide to believe. Isn't that funny? That's what she says there after I just said that. I feel so lucky and honored to be around these beautiful, generous, loving, intelligent humans. Isn't that funny? She's even said in text messages and other times that I'm generous, I'm loving, I'm intelligent, and beautiful. But go to the strangers and put it out on Facebook and social media that these who you define to be those things, not the man who brought 2 children to the world with you. I encourage anyone to take your focus away from somebody else who you define as beautiful, because a lot of this has to do with, I believe, my theory is this another theory. I think that it's familiarity breeds contempt, because we do see the things in someone else. We see, I mean, I get up and my ugly ass goes naked to the shower and she's looking at me, I'm not that hot, not as hot as the guy she married. I mean, you see these flaws in people, but can you embrace the flaws? How can you come from gigantic love, or are you going to run to the ones that only see your beauty, only see your vanity posts? That's what she did. They have so much integrity. They're making the world a better place. It's funny, we had a bond. We went to some special things that the key to it was integrity. I loved her integrity. Isn't it funny that this is the post that she chooses to write about them? It's just like criminals. They just justify a murder and they'll lie all the way. I heard there's a statistic. It's from Social Dilemma, I believe it is. The people who want to believe something, they will seek information that feeds that belief. She seeks information about this woman, this broke woman. She has to believe it because this is the woman that led to the demise of her marriage, the breakup of her family, the sadness of the kids. She knows it. 17%. That's the smallest number of people when they're shown the actual evidence of something can admit they were wrong. Weapons of mass destruction. I remember my instinct was, they're not coming for us. There's no weapons. There was this guy, Hans Blix, and Hans Blix, I recall that he said there's no weapons, and they completely demoralized him, dehumanized him. They just attacked him. They've got all the money in the world to do it. And I still know people that would not admit that there were no weapons of mass destruction. They just went away. No one paid for it. Well, here, there's no weapon of mass destruction over here, but she tried to create that with people. She tried to create me as an enemy. And people will believe it like the way you believe people when you get behind them, and there's no way. So I could show her so much evidence, including what happened with Raven. I forgot to mention what happened with Raven, her first cult that this brought her into. Raven got caught finally. She got $500,000 she got from all of us. And she did the same thing, just talked about herself and all these theories, and she would just lie on her bed, and all these women would just watch her, and here's the next plan, and humiliate them if they got out of the cult. She'd feel humiliated if she got out. There's no way she can get out now. Well, maybe there is. Let's pray. Let's pray, literally. Send beautiful, loving energy to her and get out of this. This is what she thinks of these people, making the world a better place. My question would be, how are they making the world a better place? By sharing their painful sex that they have, the dominance, by sharing cheating on your husband who loves you and is watching the kids while you're in Australia on another adventure of doing a dance in front of thousands of people for some reason. It was just an ego reason. Is this how they're making the world a better place? Hurting children. I heard, now this is the only thing I heard. I heard that he beat up her kid. And child services was called. I don't know that case. But is this really, how do you know if you don't live with them or 300 miles away, how do you know they're making the world a better place? I can guarantee you that your husband, your ex-husband's making the world a better place because you're right there for it, co-creating that. But there was a choice to abandon that. And in abandoning this, the truth is a killer. People who run from the truth, those are the ones to beware. And you end up like this. I'm happy to see them committing to being married. Why wouldn't you commit to being married? And this is the woman that asked you to get out of your marriage. That said there was something better out there. But she changes her mind all the time on that. And I commit to being unshakable in my truth. And she puts capital. Love wins. It does. It's going to win for me right now. I'm not going to be shakable. I get shaken. Like she's not responding again to some things that I'm asking for, and I have to keep loving through it. And let's hope. Maybe next episode she's gonna have one little mini surrender, and as a little bit towards the trust. Right now she's doing the other thing. She's planning a birthday party for our son, and I told her before I'd rather do it together so we can be an example. But I think she has a really hard time looking at me. Because she knows deep down, what the real deal is. She runs off there, Colorado, or goes and gets some kinky sex or whatever it is that they're bragging about today. Brooke posts about, when I got my divorce, he refused. Her son came to my house for almost a year. And he refused to talk to me. By the way, where were those posts during the year? She's posting this because he's finally talking to her. Where were those posts with honesty? And is that what you want, Lotus? Is that what Lotus wants? The kids already have issues with her. But I will tell you this, and they do teach me a lesson. They're in more acceptance than I am, or I have been. I'm in a lot more acceptance, but they got to acceptance much faster than I did. I give them such credit. Oh my God, these courageous kids, people feel sorry for them. I don't know that I can, or I don't know that I want you to, because they're growing and shifting and they're amazing. I can't believe it. The other two children I have, it's kind of like the opposite. They went down this really rageful, angry road, and they followed mom in that anger. Oof, it's just, and again, love. It's the only answer. It's all I can do. I'm down to that. I know that for a fact. So as far as the doing things, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I decided I have to commit to that. I'm releasing her of things that I could go to the court. There's so many things. I could probably get custody based on this craziness. I probably could. She knows I'm not down for that kind of fight. She really does know deep down that the character that I've developed through all these years of my dad and all the betrayal. Oh my God, betrayed. But like somebody pointed out to me, my father left so I can know the father in me. It really hit me. This father in me that wished to emerge, that is there. This beautiful essence, this beautiful presence, this beautiful man that I am, who can be mindful and give gifts away that I have, the creativity, the connections, the intelligence, the inspiration. I can give this away. I think that's what motivates me to do this podcast. The podcast has turned into what I didn't know what it was going to turn into. And it's got some legs, which is crazy. I just can't believe the stats. Hello, India. I'm going to do a show over there. Funny, my first studies in Laughter Heals, I might have mentioned Laughter Heals before, but I founded it many years ago because one of my best friends got brain cancer. They gave him 3 months to live. And I did these laughter programs, and he lived 15 years past that prognosis. I probably mentioned I made him laugh on his deathbed, but he did live 15 years past that 3 months. And in my studies, I found that India, we start our day with coffee. I don't. I never had a cup of coffee, except when I was really drunk in 9th grade. I have bad memory. They jammed it down my throat. They didn't know what to do with me. But never had a cup since. Drank alcohol since. Not anymore, though. But, yeah. I learned so much in being of service with this Laughter Heals that it just led to this discovery. And I discovered in India, they begin their day. We go with a false high of coffee and caffeine, and they have a high of laughter, which inspired me to come up with guided laughitation and chuckle chatter. These two programs I developed and we do with our groups and my individuals. And this is my calling. And who knew it would come through something called my wife joined a cult? I have no idea. And I have no idea where it's going to end up. I have no idea. Just let it go. All these are just moment by moment by moment by moment by moment what comes up for me. And I know there's judgment, and I'm at the point where I finally don't care. I'll respond to it if something bothers you. Email me, DM me, official Craig Shoemaker. If you have concerns, I know there's a ton of judgment over me even doing this. They think it's something bad. But I would ask you this. If someone you saw took a dive in their life, whatever the addiction is, whatever the issues are, all of a sudden they're committing crimes, all of a sudden they're being mean, cruel, nasty, they're affecting children, hurting children, would you do something? Would you allow people in to find help? Would you expose them, or would you keep it secret? We're only as sick as our secrets, and I do not want to keep any secrets. I'm hoping that some miracle occurs. I'm hoping that she sees the light. I'm hoping some light shines inside of her again. I've tried spiritual teachers. Her favorite teacher, who's mine to this day, we were seeing one another. And by the way, I regret, I would flip out because I would watch her shut me down again. If we ever did it again, I wouldn't do that. I've got to be self-effacing and self-evaluative. I've got to do that. I can't do this by just some blame game. And I really do hope you don't hear it as that. There's going to be people that do, because it's a projection of your own stuff that you're blaming and you're whining and complaining. You're a Karen or whatever it is, a Carl. That's what we do. I had someone on Facebook just two different times now. You're angry, all this kind of stuff. I'm going, wow. And you can feel their anger, their misplaced rage. It's so much going on in politics. Just like attack the other. Don't listen to a word they say. And if you're in with them, then you're my enemy. What a terrible way to live. I shouldn't be kind to her on paper. I shouldn't be this loving to her on paper. That's the way we're going to live. And you're my enemy. You're my sworn enemy. She's done things that would be a sworn enemy. So have all these people, even the guy that kidnapped me, not my enemy. Because that would be true prison. They do not. Lotus doesn't hold the key. Broke doesn't hold the key to my prison. Rundle doesn't. Ben Rauscher, who took me away for 5 days and kidnapped me. Nobody. Pete D., Steve S. from 8th grade don't have the key. All of these people who shamed, humiliated, beaten up, all of those things, you don't hold the key to my prison. That would be my prison if I held on to resentment. I forgive you, and I forgive me for ever holding those resentments. Next time, I talked to him tonight. I saw a guy on a podcast called Soul Boom with Rainn Wilson. I love this podcast because it's doing what I intended to do with my last podcast. I'm dropping the podcast, I decided. It was have guests, and it wasn't clicking. People think I'm a comedian. Oh, it's going to be a funny, whatever. It just didn't connect. I think this one is. So this is going to be the platform from now on. It'll be stuff that's not about cults. It'll be about something else. Hopefully you'll relate to it. But it's about self-discovery. It's about the journey. Maybe there might be some good results from this. There might be something where she comes around and says, I've left broke. I found out. I discovered she's a fraud. There's no question that she is a major thief and fraud, this woman that she's following. I have more things to read about her. They've got this podcast together. Dear God, maybe I'm promoting their podcast. Maybe she will make some money and I'll get paid this time. So maybe next time we'll hear that she actually got humble and said, yes, I'm making more money and, lower my support. It makes no sense that I pay support, spousal support. What was that? What's that for? How does that work? I don't understand how that operates. She was never prevented from making money. She was encouraged, supported. I'm incredibly generous. I gave every single ounce of, I never bought things for myself. Did I tell you I got a Porsche? Yeah. I got a really cool Porsche. And I belong to a country club. I got a big discount, but still. When I pull up to the country club, sometimes I go, this is little Craig Shoemaker. Tonight I did it. Actually, today I was pulled up to the country club. I'm like, wow, this little Craig Shoemaker who was like really humiliated on a golf course when you tried to play when you were a kid and you showed up in your grandfather's clubs and clothes and baseball cleats, and it wouldn't let you putt on the green because it made holes because it was baseball cleats, not real cleats for golf and all that kind of stuff. That all goes away. I'm now a member. And that's not a brag. That's to say, I can get over all of it, and you can too, no matter what. That's what I'm going to end with. I'm going to end with hope. No matter what you go through, if you can learn anything from my journey, no matter what, there's laughter, joy, love, light, levity. That's the true you that exists within you. It's a matter of accessing it, cleaning things out, becoming aware, major awareness, willingness, openness, kindness, divine love. And that's the freedom. These women talk about freedom that they already have. That's what everything is about. Freedom, Mom, is I have more things I could read. Whew. She talked deep down, my independence kept me from revealing my heart. Really? Took me 50 years, and gosh, I wish I learned it sooner. These are all the things that she keeps promoting and posting, and just, are they true? No. I smell phony. I know it's phony. And I know that what I have inside of me is not. It's very real, raw, and I share it to be of service to you as well as to me and my family. Because my kids do not have a sick dad who keeps his secrets. I just watched the Steve Martin documentary about his dad. He had a lot of pain about his dad because his dad was not revealing. My kids are the opposite. They're going to be in therapy going, my father with you, I love you. Oh, my God. Oh, I love my children so much. The older ones, I'm going to have to keep them in prayer as well. If prayer scares you, use another terminology when you hear it. I mean, if it kind of jolts you, and I know that it does, it certainly did for me, until I made it about what resonated and worked for me, that became my truth. And the truth is there's nobody I'm not going to empower a person. It's this spirit. If it's called spiritus, breath, so breathe that in, breathe in, send energy if you need to. I love being in this energy and bathing in it. It truly is healing, and I feel it. My last few days in the shower, that's where I do my thinking, contemplating, meditating, whatever you want to call it. Have had no defense. I have dialogue that I put in my mind, defense. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. Never has it worked, and it never will. However, I have seen countless times miracles occur, like with my mom, where grand acceptance, which is God, which is allowing God to take over, not my ego, which is edging God out. I call it evading growth opportunity. I got an opportunity to grow. Maybe some things you heard in here. Be curious. Ask me about it. So if you're angry, try to transform that into curiosity to find out more about yourself, or just go away. Just go find another podcast. Go to Kill Tony or whatever. It's very funny, but it's also not in connection with me. No, I've been a comedian for years, and I just don't jive with that. I don't jam with that. I jam with really kind connection with people. And I hope you do as well. All right, I'll see you the next time. We're going to have a guest. So I'm on Soul Boom. This guy's I've known him for years. I contacted him, he said, I can't wait. Come on here. I'll see you next time.